I can't shake the feeling that someone's watching me. The shadows in my peripheral vision twist and shift as I sprint through the forest, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The moonlight barely pierces the dense canopy above, casting eerie, shifting patterns on the ground. Every snap of a twig and rustle of leaves sends my heart pounding. I glance back, but there's nothing there, only the darkness that feels like it's closing in on me. My legs ache, but I can't stop. Not now. I reach the edge of a clearing and skid to a halt. There, in the center, stands a dilapidated cabin, its windows dark and menacing. I don't have a choice. I have to hide. Forcing myself to move, I rush towards it, praying it offers some form of refuge from the nightmare pursuing me. This all started 2 weeks ago when my sister, Emily, went missing. Emily was always the more adventurous one, with an insatiable curiosity that often got her into trouble. The night she disappeared, she'd been researching the local legends about our small town in the Pacific Northwest, a place shrouded in mystery and whispers of the supernatural. She'd told me about her latest obsession, the legend of the Whispering Woods. According to folklore, people who ventured too deep into those woods never came back, leaving behind only eerie whispers and cryptic symbols etched into the trees. I dismissed it as another one of her wild goose chases, but when she didn't return home, I knew something was wrong. The police investigation yielded nothing. No footprints, no signs of a struggle, just her car abandoned at the trailhead and her phone lying on the passenger seat, still fully charged. The officers combed the forest for days, but there was no trace of her. Frustrated and heartbroken, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I had to find her. Armed with a flashlight, a map, and a backpack filled with supplies, I ventured into the Whispering Woods, determined to uncover the truth. The forest was thick with an unnatural silence, the kind that presses on your ears and makes you hyper-aware of every sound you make. As I trudged deeper, the trees seemed to close in around me, their branches like skeletal fingers blocking out the sun. Hours passed with no sign of Emily, but then I stumbled upon something peculiar. A series of symbols carved into the bark of an ancient oak. They matched the ones Emily had shown me from her research, intricate, almost runic designs that sent a shiver down my spine. I followed them, each step taking me deeper into the unknown. The first night in the woods was terrifying. I set up camp near a small clearing, my tent offering little protection against the oppressive darkness. I barely slept, jumping at every rustle and whisper that floated on the wind. In the early hours of the morning, I heard it, Emily's voice, faint and distant, calling my name. I grabbed my flashlight and stumbled out of the tent, but the voice faded, leaving only the echo of my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Over the next few days, I continued to follow the symbols, each one drawing me further into the heart of the forest. The feeling of being watched grew stronger, and I couldn't shake the sense that I was being led somewhere, like a lamb to the slaughter. I tried to call for help, but my phone had long lost its signal. I was alone, with only my determination to keep me going. On the 5th day, I found her. Emily's journal lay at the base of a massive cedar, its pages smeared with dirt and blood. My hands trembled as I opened it, reading her final entries with growing horror. She'd discovered something ancient, something malevolent that thrived in the forest's depths. The symbols were a form of communication, a way to summon and control whatever lurked in the shadows. Her last entry was hastily scrawled, "I hear them whispering. They know I'm here. If you find this, please." The rest was illegible, stained with something dark and sticky. I pocketed the journal and kept moving, the air growing colder with each step. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat by the fire, staring into the darkness, my thoughts a jumble of fear and determination. That's when I saw it, a figure, just at the edge of the firelight. It was Emily. She looked pale and gaunt, her eyes wide with terror. She beckoned me to follow, and without thinking, I obeyed. She led me through the forest, her movements almost ethereal, like she was floating rather than walking. We reached a clearing, and she pointed to the cabin, the same one I'm now hiding in. Then she vanished, leaving me alone in the moonlit glade. I approach the cabin, the door creaking ominously as I push it open. Inside, the air is stale, and the smell of decay hits me like a physical blow. I flick on my flashlight and sweep the beam across the room. Dust motes dance in the light, and I see more symbols carved into the walls. In the center of the floor lies a trapdoor, slightly ajar. Summoning every ounce of courage, I lift it and peer into the darkness below. A ladder descends into a basement, the air growing colder as I climb down. My flashlight beam reveals a small room lined with shelves filled with old books and jars of strange, preserved creatures. In the center of the room is an altar, covered in symbols and surrounded by candles. And there, in front of it, lies Emily, unconscious but alive. I rush to her side, shaking her gently. Her eyes flutter open, filled with confusion and fear. "We have to go," I whisper urgently. As I help her to her feet, a low growl echoes from the shadows. My flashlight flickers, and I feel a presence behind me. Turning slowly, I see them, figures cloaked in darkness, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The whispers grow louder, a cacophony of voices that send chills down my spine. "We have to run," I say, more to myself than to Emily. We scramble up the ladder, and I slam the trapdoor shut behind us. We burst out of the cabin and into the forest, the darkness pressing in from all sides. Now, as we run through the trees, I can feel them closing in. My legs are weak, my breath coming in short gasps, but I can't stop. Emily stumbles beside me, and I grab her arm, pulling her along. The whispers grow louder, the figures gaining on us. Just as I think we might make it, Emily trips, falling to the ground with a cry of pain. I turn back to help her, but it's too late. The figures are upon us, their hands cold and unyielding as they drag her away. "No!" I scream, fighting to free her. But their strength is overwhelming, and I'm thrown to the ground. The last thing I see before the darkness takes me is Emily's terrified face, her voice echoing in my ears as she calls my name. I wake up alone, the forest silent and still. There's no sign of Emily, no sign of the figures that took her. The cabin looms behind me, dark and foreboding. I stumble to my feet, my body aching, and make my way back through the forest, the weight of failure heavy on my shoulders. When I finally emerge from the trees, the sun is rising, casting a golden light over the trailhead. I collapse, my mind numb with exhaustion and grief. Emily is gone, taken by something I can't explain, and I am left with nothing but her journal and the haunting whispers of the forest.